Okay, I think next up we have Griffin talking about Aim Ahead and some more information on MassCPR.
All right, I'm going to be talking about two use cases. This will be pretty brief, but it's a good contrast. It's the same virtual machine enclave technology, but solving a very different kind of problem. So first, Aim Ahead. Aim Ahead is a large NIH-funded consortium. It brings together about 10,000 AI and healthcare experts across the United States. Aim Ahead funds many different programs. I work on what's called the Infrastructure Core, led by Paul Avalock here at Harvard Medical School. And we support a few of these programs, including something called the Research Fellowship. This is 80 early career investigators and their mentors working on biomedical research projects using AI and ML at different institutions across the US. There are different waves of cohorts. Each year we've been bringing in about 20 new fellowship projects from different places across the United States. Each team is given their own virtual machine inside of AWS through a program called Service Workbench that Paul's Avalock's group developed. There's a central database. It's I2B2. A newer version also has OMOP. It's populated with 6 million patients from Ocean. As I said, this is a very different network. In AIM and ENACT, we're taking data from multiple institutions and pulling that into one enclave where investigators can collaborate on that project. Here, there's a single I2B2 instance centrally, and then data from that I2B2 instance is cut and moved out to project-specific ephemeral enclaves where that one team is working on their data isolated from the others for privacy and for security. So it's meant to provide secure, sort of isolated compute for sites and for projects, but the purpose of this isn't at all about collaboration or bringing data from multiple institutions together. It's a very opposite use case from ENACT, but using the same technology to solve the problem. And then for MassCPR, I want to emphasize this does not exist yet in MassCPR. I don't want anyone to get concerned about that. I'm bringing up MassCPR because there's an interesting use case that we have there, which could potentially be solved by enclaves. We're beginning to think about, is this a potential option for us? So in the national ENACT network, there's relatively little overlap between the patient populations. Some people move or may fly somewhere for care, but we don't have to worry about that so much. In the MassCPR network, the patient population between the different institutions overlap quite a bit. The two different sites that I was talking about earlier in the MassCPR network are literally next to each other in the Longwood medical area over here. So when patients are represented in multiple EHRs in your system, there's a couple problems. First, you could double count them when you're running the aggregate queries, but also their data are split up between institutions. The same patient may go to one hospital for their primary care treatment, another site where they were vaccinated, and then a third site where they showed up to the emergency room with an infectious disease. So the users of the MassCPR network are trying to figure out how do we trace those patients across these institutions. And here where an enclave could potentially provide value is not merging patients from different institutions, but taking the data about the same patient across different institutions using privacy-preserving record linkage to assemble that into the enclave, where the goal here is to link a patient's data from multiple institutions to create a more complete picture of that patient's health. So in this kind of environment, what you would envision is this would be a collaborative project where you would have an investigator from each institution providing the data on that cohort of patients and then merging it together, and they're working together on this linked data set. So again, it's like ENACT in that there's a central location where teams formed from multiple institutions collaborate, but instead of pulling different patient populations, it's really the same population, but you're pulling together data from different sources together. So that's all I'm going to say about these two. I just think it's interesting about, again, the same technology used for different kinds of applications and solving problems, in very different kinds of architectures. Then I think we'll do Sean, and then you can answer questions.